Hello there, this is L24 World News, and these are today's headlines. Russian President Vladimir Putin signed laws that claims 4 regions of Ukraine as Russia's territory. South Korea and US military conducted rare missile drills after Pyongyang flew a missile over Japan. And with the participation of the Algerian Minister of Energy and Mines, the 33rd OPEC meeting is being held to discuss a range of topics regarding energy markets and to approve a sizable cut in oil production. Several dozen protesters waving with Russian flags have rallied in Burkina Faso's capital Ouagadougou following the country's second coup in less than 9 months. Starting here from Algeria, the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, received the Minister for Foreign Affairs and the Republic of Portugal, Mr. João Gomes Garvinho, in Algiers. The Algerian Minister for Foreign Affairs and the Director of the Office of the President of the Republic were also there at this meeting. Still in Algeria, the Algerian President, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, received Tuesday the Ugandan Minister of State for Regional Cooperation, John Moliba. He is on working visit to Algeria. In a statement to the press after the reception that took place at the headquarters of Presidency of the Algerian Republic, John Moliba said that the meeting with President Tebboune was fruitful, during which both sides discussed bilateral relations between the two countries, as well as consultations on political and diplomatic issues and the development of the economy in the African continent. Under the supervision of the Minister of Health, Professor Abdelhak Saihi, and His Excellency, the Ambassador of the State of Qatar, Abdelaziz bin Ali Ahmed, a cooperation and partnership agreement between the Directorate of Health and Population of Algeria is being signed at the headquarters of the Ministry of Health. This agreement reflects the depth of relations between the two countries that shows as well the desire to develop its health sector and improve the level of services provided to citizens. To the Russian-Ukrainian fight, the Russian President Vladimir Putin signed into law 4 unification treaties with the Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics, as well as Kherson and Zaporizhia region. The annexation of 4 regions was strongly condemned by Kiev and its Western allies, with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky responding by announcing a fast-track application to join NATO. In the same line of thought, the last developments in Ukraine have witnessed a significant advance in 4 regions only recently annexed by Russia. This comes as Belarusian president called Ukrainian forces deployment to the borders of his country as a provocation. Nabil Khazini.
The Russian reservists have arrived to the front line, an attempt to boost the military presence in the 4 freshly annexed regions. But the scale of the Ukrainian advance is remarkable. Zelensky's forces have liberated a key village in the southern region of Kherson, hastening another Russian military retreat.
The Ukrainian army is advancing quite quickly and powerfully in the south of our country as part of the current defense operation.
In the past 48 hours, Ukrainian forces have pushed south along the Dnipro River, while Russian units say they have pulled back from several settlements in the north of Kherson region as well. This rapid advance of the Ukrainian military is a bit too much for the Belarusian president Alexander Lukashenko, who accused neighboring Ukraine of sending 15,000 troops to the border area to build defenses and conduct reconnaissance, actions that he called provocations.
In a word, not only has Ukraine barricaded itself in, but has built a wall. They are constantly conducting optical, radio-electronic, and radio-technical reconnaissance of our territory. Troops and strategic sites often using drones that have violated the state border. And at the same time, they are concerned that, don't let Belarus enter the war, and there are constant provocations at the border.
Зачастую с нарушением своими беспилотниками линии государственных границ.
Only last week, the Russian President Vladimir Putin, who rules a nuclear power, said the next region would be Russian forever. He repeatedly cautioned the West that any attack on Russia could provoke a nuclear response.
US President Joe Biden announced a new $625 million in military aid to Ukraine, a package that includes additional advanced rocket systems. In a telephone call, Biden told Zelensky that US will never recognize Russia's annexation of Ukrainian territory. South Korea and the United States started conducting missile drills into the sea in response to North Korea's launch of ballistic missile over Japan. The United States asked the UN Security Council to meet on North Korea on Wednesday, but diplomats said China and Russia are opposed to a public discussion by 15 members body.
The redeployment of the US aircraft carrier on the Korean peninsula is very unusual, and this shows the firm commitment of the South Korea-US alliance to strengthen its readiness against North Korea's consecutive provocations and to respond sternly to North Korean provocations and threats.
The United States condemns these actions and calls on the DPRK to refrain from further unlawful and destabilizing acts. In response to the DPRK's ballistic missile launch over Japan, U.S. Marine Corps fighters joined Japan Air Self-Defense Force fighters in a bilateral exercise over the Sea of Japan on October 4th, Japan time. In addition, U.S. Indo-Pacific Command and Republic of Korea personnel conducted a bilateral exercise over the West Sea on October 4th, Korean time. These engagements were taken to showcase combined deterrent and dynamic strike capabilities, while demonstrating the interoperability our nations share.
Defense Minister Chu Kuo-chang claimed on Wednesday that China has destroyed a tacit agreement on military movement in the Taiwan Strait by crossing an unofficial median line running down the waterway. Chu said China's crossings of the median line indicated a new way of doing things, which Taiwan would resist.
China's Foreign Ministry and Taiwan Affairs Office have subtly announced that the median line of the Taiwan Strait does not exist, and that the Taiwan Strait is not an international water. This August, China has conducted joint military actions in air and waters close to Taiwan, conducting drills of joint blockades, directly threatening our ports and international aviation routes, and has used information, cyber and cognitive warfare to impact our morale.
European Commission has outlined possible strategies to cap gas prices as the bloc faces a looming energy crisis this winter. Member states are divided over energy measures designed to curb runaway inflation amid Russia's operations in Ukraine. EU leaders will meet on Friday to discuss gas price cap strategies. Mohamed Al-Qab, the Algerian energy minister, will take part in the 33rd OPEC Plus meeting. This latter will take place for the first time since the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic at the organization's headquarters in Vienna. In the meeting, OPEC and its allies are expected to approve a sizable cut in oil production in order to bolster prices when officials meet in Vienna on Wednesday. Ankara and the government of Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Dbeiba struck a deal to step up the cooperative efforts to look for natural gas. This agreement sparked simmering controversy over river energy development in the eastern Mediterranean. Islam Seed.
The Eastern Mediterranean reached new levels of tensions after Turkey signed a preliminary deal with Libya's Tripoli-based government, allowing for oil and gas exploration in waters where Greece and other countries also claim territorial rights. The European Union demanded additional clarifications from Libya and Turkey regarding expansion of the energy collaboration, saying that it doesn't comply with the United Nations law of the sea and violates the rights of other countries. Turkey rejected European Union criticism, calling it not an international judicial body to comment or decide on agreements between sovereign third countries. On the other hand, the Greek Foreign Ministry reiterated its rejection of the agreement, saying it's dangerous and illegal, and indicated that it has sovereign rights in the region and will defend them by all means. Meanwhile, Egypt has also not hesitated to express a position rejecting the signed agreement as a result of its opposition to the internationally recognized Libyan government of national unity and its president Abdelhamid Dbeibeh.
In the large scale, Turkey is sending a message to Greece and Egypt and also the colonial states in that part, and by playing a major role in the East Mediterranean, strengthen the agreement and also the maritime memorial of understanding that was signed in 2019 by the then Sarraj government and the Turkish authorities. On the other hand, is also a message to Egypt, because Egypt is fully supporting the camp in the east, and also Ankara sounds kind of unhappy about the obstructionist role that Cairo is playing in light of the ongoing smooth and slow rapprochement between Ankara and Cairo that started a couple of months ago.
Libya, which is a home to Africa's largest crude oil reserves, is now split between Dbeibeh's administration and rival Premier Fathi Bashagha, who's backed by parliament and has vowed to reject any deal struck by officials in Tripoli.
Iranian security forces told the body of teen demonstrator Nika Shakrami to ensure her family did not speak out against her suspected killing. According to BBC Persian, the 16-year-old girl took part in a protest 10 days ago in Tehran when she messaged a friend saying that she was being chased by security forces and then disappeared. Her family found her body later on in a morgue at a detention center in the capital. Motorcycle riding gunman killed a radio commentator in metropolitan Manila. According to police, Parsival Mabasa was driving back home when two men on a motorcycle approached and shot him twice in the head in Las Piñas City. The attack is the latest on a member of media in the Philippines and considered one of the world's most dangerous countries for journalists.
Relations between media and the government were not that good under Duterte, and under Marcos administration we were hoping that it could be a fresh start, but this attack shows that the same conditions that existed under Duterte are still here, and this is a challenge for the new government to show that they do respect press freedom, that they understand the role of journalists, and that they will protect us while we do our jobs.
The government of Colombia and the representatives of the guerrilla of the National Liberation Army announced this Tuesday in Caracas that they reinstate the talks table after a 3-year break. The announcement explained that the parties will return to the agreements and progress made since the signing of the agenda on March 13, 2016, or rather 30, 2016, and that the dialogue process will resume after the first week of November this year.
Practically 3 Colombian governments have passed. Now it comes the 4th. This is the negotiations and conversation of peace in Colombia. And this is not because of the ELN's negligence, but because the PACE government imposed. We believe that now Colombia's new political circumstances have allowed negotiations to restart. Hence, now we trust there is a change in the peace politicals Colombia has historically had. It's probably the agreement we strike throughout this process, and it will open new opportunities.
Former President Donald Trump asked the U.S. Supreme Court on Tuesday to intervene in his continuous fight with the Justice Department over classified documents seized from his Florida home. Trump asked the Supreme Court to overturn a portion of lower court's decision that barred an independent arbitrator he had asked for, known as a special master, from reviewing more than 100 classified documents that were among the 11,000 records that the FBI agents had taken from Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach on August 8. America's gross national debt exceeded $31 trillion for the first time on Tuesday, amid higher interest rates, raising concerns about fiscal sustainability. The break of the threat, which was revealed in Treasury Department report, comes as an inappropriate moment as historically low interest rates are being replaced with higher borrowing costs as the Federal Reserve tries to combat rapid inflation. To Africa now, the West African mission that came to assess the situation in Burkina Faso a few days after a second coup in 8 months left Ouagadougou Tuesday, where demonstrators had gathered to criticize it. Hussein Burkan.
The ECOWAS mediator for Burkina Faso has ended his visit to the country following last Friday's coup, the second in 8 months, after several dozen protesters rallied in Burkina Faso's capital Tuesday, accusing ECOWAS of interference. The mediator sent to Burkina Faso, Mamadou Issoufou, said he was satisfied by the meeting with the country's new military leader, Ibrahim Traoré. Issoufou added that the 15-member bloc would continue accompanying Burkina Faso transition to constitutional rule after the country was hit by its second military takeover this year.
Je suis totalement satisfait de l'entretien que j'ai eu avec
I'm totally satisfied with the meeting I had with the captain. We will brief the sitting president of ECOWAS and the other heads of state on our mission. But I can assure you now that the ECOWAS will remain with the people of Burkina Faso and will continue to assist the people of Burkina Faso in this difficult challenge they face.
vous assurer.
Several dozens people demonstrated against the visit of the West African delegation to assess the situation in Burkina Faso, waving Russian flags and shouting slogans to the glory of Moscow. The demonstrators showed their hostility to the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, and toward France.
ECOWAS is ashamed today. We want to tell them that the people of Burkina Faso are on their feet and no longer want to be pushed around. What the captain has done is the will of the people, and we are behind them.
Demonstrators who demanded the departure of Mr. Damiba, accused of having been protected by Paris, asked for strengthening of military cooperation with Moscow. Russian influence continues to grow in several French-speaking African countries, particularly in Mali and Central African republics.
Still in Africa, the Ethiopian government on Wednesday accepted an invitation by the African Union to hold peace talks in South Africa this weekend with rival Tigray forces aimed at ending a two-year conflict, the National Security Advisor said. Radwan Hussein, the National Security Advisor to Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, said on Twitter that the African Union invitation was consistent with the need to have talks without preconditions. In the densely populated Gaza Strip, a battle for space is pitting the living against the dead of homeless squatters settled in areas, cemeteries, while authorities grapple with growing demand for new housing. More in this report.
In the oldest area of Shashamban Cemetery, Kamilia Kahi's family live in a house built by her husband on the eastern edge of the site, covering the graves of the two unknown people who remain buried under its foundation. Her children keep asking their parents when they will be able to move away from the cemetery.
If the dead could talk, they would tell us, "Get out of here, leave the cemetery because we're all over them. We live over them, hang our clothes over them. Our kids are going back and forth and stepping on the graves all the time. It's full everywhere.
The pressure on space in the cemetery reflects the growing pressure on land in Gaza. A narrow patch between Egypt and Zionist-occupied areas blockaded from both sides, which has faced a mounting demographic crisis for years. Its population is expected to be more than double within the next 30 years to 4.8 million, and already land is running out.
We face a dilemma finding land to build graves because of the reality of Gaza and its population growth. Each year the need to build new facilities and residential buildings increases, as well as the cemeteries.
Competition for scarce Gaza real estate is fierce, with a rising demand both for housing and for farming land to help feed the growing population. Even the dead are affected. The resting place is pressured not just by squatters, but by the relentless realities of a growing population with nowhere else to go.
And now for more international news, let's follow this roundup.
Speak about the impact of the Dobbs decision on their medical.
U.S. President Joe Biden warned that Republicans are pushing to ban abortion nationwide as his administration directed universities to increase protections for students who obtain the procedure. Biden signed 2 executive orders that allow to expand access to abortion pills and support for women who need to travel to another state where such services are legal.
The European Union said Tuesday it was weighing tough new sanctions on Iran over a lethal crackdown on protests sparked by the killing of Mahsa Amini after a similar move by the United States. EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell said the bloc was weighing measures to address the killing of the 22-year-old Mahsa Amini.
The billionaire Elon Musk sent a letter to Twitter changing his mind about purchasing the company at the originally agreed-upon price in a surprise U-turn. In the letter, attorneys for Musk said he intended to move ahead to complete the transaction, pending receipt of the financing and an end to the legal fight.
A top Lebanese official said on Tuesday that the US mediated negotiations over a contested maritime border between Lebanon and Israel have reached such an advanced stage that the negotiation phase was over. Lebanon has submitted to the United States a list of changes it would like to see in a proposal on how to delineate a contested maritime border with Israel.
Caroline R. Bertuzzi and Morton Mildahl and Key Barry Sharpless have won this year's Nobel Prize for Chemistry for their work in developing click chemistry and bioorthogonal chemistry, according to Swedish Karolinska Institute on Wednesday. This year's winner will receive a cash prize of about $914,000, a Nobel Medal, and a world fame at a gala dinner in December.
The 40th Algiers FIBDA International Comics Festival kicked off its activities on Tuesday under the theme Let's Draw Our Heritage. Guests from all over the world will be at Riyadh Al Fath, explained from October 4th to 8th. Zara Farjani.
The Algiers International Comics Festival resumed its activities this year in Algeria under the slogan Let's Draw Our Patrimony. The 14th edition of FIBDA, the 9th art in Algeria and Africa, is scheduled from October 4th to October 8th, with Japan and its manga authors as guest of honor at this year's edition.
Our heritage can inspire authors to draw and tell stories with comics. Japan is the guest of honor, and we have introduced the academic aspect in this edition.
As the Japanese culture was the highlight of the opening ceremony, the performers enchanted the audience with their rhythms and melodies. Visitors will have the opportunity to discover the creations of Algerians and foreigners on comics and Japanese manga through exhibitions and workshops supervised by professionals.
Japan now is the guest of honor of FIBDA this year because we are celebrating 60th anniversary of the bilateral relationship between Algeria and Japan. Now I'm wearing kimono. It's traditional Japanese clothes, and it's called as kimono. 2 musicians will wear this kimono. Yes, you will see it.
In addition to Japan, International Comics Festival of Algiers will gather participants from all around the world, such as Italy, France, Congo, Egypt, Lebanon, and for the first time, Mexico will participate in this festival.
I really enjoyed my first stay in Algeria and in Fibda, and I'm looking forward to see everyone here this year.
Under the theme Let's Draw Our Heritage, Algeria kicks off its largest cultural event, the Algiers International Comics Festival. This event will witness many activities related to the 60th independence through a pedagogical and entertainment program. Here in Riyadh Al Fath, in the capital Algiers, this was Zahra Farjani reporting for All 24 News.
And with this event, we reach the end of our news. Thank you so much for being with us. For more updates, you can follow our social media platform as well as YouTube. Bye for now.